talk about two things, actually. It was originally, so let me go step back for just a second, because again, all those conferences, and a lot of you have been to many of those, the three main themes are AI, identity fraud and fraud in general, and consumer affordability, okay? We're gonna cover 2 out of 3, and that ain't bad. So, and actually, this slide, I'm updating almost daily. That's how much this is changing, okay? The identity fraud crisis is there. Does anybody disagree? Raise your hand. Yeah, and it's just crazy what's happening in our industry right now, and everywhere, but for sure right now. I'm not gonna go through all the stats. The slides will be available later, so we're not gonna waste time on that because we got till 5 because that's cocktail hour, and there's nothing between now and then. On your, next to you, probably there's a sheet of paper. We put out a public service announcement, and I'm just going to talk about this really briefly because this is really, really important. So a previous product of mine, I was on an email thread with some dealers where within a few minutes, there were over a couple of hundred leads submitted in the middle of the night for the same vehicle. Name, address, phone number, email, real information, real people. But what we found out in working with my friends in law enforcement and others, we've realized what was happening was they were somebody was automating those emails and that names and address emails on the Get Pre-Qualified web app, right? And if that came back a pre-qualified, they could take that information and use that for other fraud. So they're using the Get Pre-Qualified web apps, that the form fills that are out there on dealer websites. There's no checking, and even afterwards, they were doing CAPTCHA to try to fix that. CAPTCHA doesn't phase AI at all, right? I mean, they get through that with no problem. So we put together this PSA, public service announcement, letting dealers know that, and those who are using Get Pre-Qualified web apps, that if you're using form fill, name and address and phone number, there's some problems. It's going to happen. And God forbid that, legal gets a hold of this out there, and then they start, and then, what happens with that. So you can take that with you.
Fraud incubator, right?
We're going to talk about, so the fraud incubator. And actually, so Rudy and I want to get yours here in just a second. But Rudy called that a fraud incubator. They're incubating those real customer information to commit fraud somewhere else. It's there. A matter of fact, what was the Auto Finance Summit a couple weeks ago? They said that 30% of dealer website traffic is potentially fraudulent or fraud-based or bots. So think about that number. That's a lot of traffic that's not real. So dealer reputations are on the line. So people are like, oh, well, I have insurance. If it happens to me, my insurance will cover it. And Jim, we talked about that before, right? In your session about that. And okay, you have insurance, but how many is that going to cover? And it's not just the insurance coverage, but it's also the reputation. If I'm a consumer and I see in the news that your dealership has been hit with fraud, I'm going to think twice about engaging with that dealership. So that's another thing to think about as we talk about the fraud that's out there. So what's the solution? It's not about one piece of technology. If somebody is out there telling you, oh, we can eliminate all the fraud, that's not true, okay? They're not being totally honest with you. So what we've talked about is putting together a fraud stack. And the fraud stack it's like Swiss cheese. Every layer that you put in place, that helps protect you, okay? That was one of the fraud things that... Nice. So anyway, so the fraud stack, you've got the high level, okay? And matter of fact, did you guys hear about Cloudflare today, right? There were some issues with Cloudflare. So It's like crazy what's happening in our industry. It's like AI, AI is like changes, like from the time we just walked in here, it's already changed, right? It's already been updated. So, but as you look at the different levels, and we're gonna get to Rudy here in just a moment with the MAV sign, it starts at the top, and which is less expensive. The more you're at the top, the further you get down, the more you get involved into the weeds of ID and authentication, okay? So this is the top level of pre-qualification and identity verification. So we do it with just a phone number. We start with just a phone number. Enter your phone number, OTP, one-time passcode, to verify it's Bob's phone and not Thane using Bob's phone. Then we're able to confirm your identity. You verify it's your identity. We were able to pull credit, do the credit decisioning through a lender waterfall that we built, which could be a dealer's waterfall, lender waterfall, captives, and all of that. And then we provide the pre-qualification. Now, we do this on inventory where we would show monthly payments that you're qualified for, but this is the basics. No forms, just a phone number. Now, is it 100%? Absolutely not. You would think, well, okay, OTPs, everybody's used to using OTPs, right? It's not 100%. Synthetic fraud can get through OTPs. So that's where that fraud stack comes in, and where Rudy comes in. Rudy can introduce himself.
Hey, Terry. Hey, guys, I'm Rudy. So Maverick's been in business where you go. We call it MavSign today. That's our product name, but we've been known as Maverick for 18 years. Experts in preventing remote offsite fraud on dealers that are trying to compete with the AutoNations and Vermont's and Brooms and all those folks in the world. There's tons of the statistics are pretty damning on how high the fraud is on offsite. But in general, what I've done in the past year and a half that I've been involved in MavSign is playing on my experience of years at Reynolds, which is I'm trying to fix the fraud. The fraud problem is not, it doesn't even start with the fraudsters or the bad guys or the consumer. It starts in this room. And what I mean by that is I'm just looking at the room, and everybody, if I said my name is fraud, if I am the disease of fraud, what's your name? Okay, Linda. But if I said my name is fraud and I came and sat next to you, you're automatically going to pull away. Now Bob's not, because Bob knows me. I used to give him 700 credit.
No, it just goes.
The challenge with fraud is like 80% of the people in the first two rows all sell products that fight fraud, right? So they're a little bit more comfortable. All right, Paul's the bravest person I know because he's not from a fraud company. He sat in the front row. And so everybody, even dealers, they're like, well, I got to fight fraud, but I'm not. I'm good. You know what? I'm going to go sign up with this tool, and it's going to do a thing. I'm good, right? And so there's lots of tools out there. There's plenty of solutions. Everybody's got somebody underpinning whatever they do. So I would say, what I'm proud of at my company is we are very in front about getting people comfortable. Like, we need to demystify what's going on with fraud, so the dealers take it more seriously that they have an active participation in this. You can have a fraud stack, but if you don't own it and you're not really monitoring it all the time, it's the same thing that they rolled out with when the FTC stuff came out and dealers are like, oh, I'm just going to go pay for a thing. Yeah, you can pay for tools, but it's not going to go fix the problem. And so, the one tip I'll give you, going back to the prior slide, is we do lots of things. We showed like 10 different things we verify, right? And there's plenty of other secret sauce in there that our founders have been working on for years. But anybody worth their salt's not going to tell you the secret sauce. So if somebody starts out saying, well, here's exactly what we do, I'd be a little worried about that provider. They're probably trying to get you excited to buy something. I think there's somebody, I think I saw the name Clear, and I've seen a couple other things thrown out there lately, where it's like, okay, great, go tell the fraudsters exactly what you're doing and give them a chance to go beat you at your own game. So we're proud of just the experience we have. We've got the scars. We have actually a live forensics team, so this is where we try to fix that problem. We have a live forensics team that in real time will work with the dealer and the local police department and the lenders, if we're allowed, to say, okay, here's what's happening, and here's why it's happening, and here's why we could have avoided it. Because, again, the tools are going to tell you things. I mean, I joke all the time, the reason we do a secondary soft credit check is because the F&I guy didn't think the look of it was only 0, right? Or, going back to being a 4-year-old, I bet you a 4-year-old would actually look at your driver's license before taking a copy of it and putting it in a deal jacket, right? Because they're a little more curious. Being dealers, if you sold a car, you're going to see that checklist that says copy of driver's license. I take the copy, I don't look at it, I put it in the deal jacket, my job is done. I didn't even think about the fact that the banks don't even want to see the driver's license. So then you've got a customer that hasn't been verified. So there's tons of fraud going on we haven't even seen yet that's going to keep popping up until we fix the fraud, being scared of fraud. I mean, the more scared you are of fraud, the more likely you are to get ripped off, in my opinion. And so that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get out in front with the dealer. So the last piece, just, the big thing that we try to do differently, and we like to say, hey, we don't compete with anybody in this space, so the only people that do what we do is we have a 50-state signing agent network that will securely collect an affidavit of identity and verify humanity on every deal. So that is a differentiator, and so we are allowed to partner with, and that's why we have lots of friends that also offer ID products in here that we can partner with and say, hey, we can complete that last mile for you and help you out. And critical, especially in the independent space and the vehicle leasing space, where you don't always really get in front of the customer very often compared to the traditional franchise dealership, right? So that's what we do. I'm really just here to support Terry and his vision of putting the fraud stack together, but I do want to just remind everybody, like, we got to get ourselves less scared of fraud, help the lenders get less scared of it, and talking more about it, bringing police departments together and talking about it, and getting the dealer associations to talk more about it. I mean, y'all know the ones I'm talking about. They don't want to tell other dealers that they had fraud. They want to just stop their own fraud and kick the can and let somebody else get rid of them. And so we just got to stop that. And I think, we got a lot of people in the room that can help fix that. So.
Yeah, and part of that, the working together. So there's an organization from the FBI that I'm a member of. It's called InfraGard, INFRAGARD. You don't join by a company, you join by as an individual. A lot of lenders, and it's not just the financial industry, it's across all industries. So it's like crazy. I mean, the power grids and everything else. And there's thousands and thousands of people in that organization nationwide. We meet on occasion, we have national events, but it's something that, and again, I have cards up here, I still do cards, right? So that way when you get back, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, I gotta talk to that person. Anyway, so the other advantage of using the VeriQual, which is our product that does the identity verification with just the phone number, the other advantage is we're going to actually see higher conversions. So when you look at the left side here with this form fill, we had a Sanzone do a A/B testing for 2 months, and 1 month using the standard form fill for prequal, putting in just the phone number, get pre-qualified with just the phone number, more than doubled conversions, no additional spend. So I go to deal, and actually McCluskey is another one of our dealers, largest Chevrolet, new and used car Chevrolet dealer in the world. They had 4 times the conversions, no additional spend, just flip it. That's all you have to do. QR codes. I do the demo with a QR code with my phone, and I don't even have to say anything. As a matter of fact, it's on the back of the chair that you're sitting in, and you don't even have to explain it. People naturally know how to get to it. So when you're at the dealership, your salespeople, hey Bob, we can pre-qualify you instantly, just scan this QR code. I, as a salesperson, do not see your information. It's secretly, or it's secured, it goes into our CRM, and you're going to get that information right on your phone now. Goes into the desk sees everything that's going on. Bob gets a pre-qual. The salesperson can talk to the desk says, this is what that customer needs to do. We do it on vehicles itself too, and show all the different payments that you're qualified for. That can then go into the credit application from there. So QR codes. All right, before we move on, everybody, any questions on what we've talked about? Because now we're going to get, that's not even fun to talk about, really. Fraud, it's not sexy or anything like that. Like this, used car leasing. How about that? Anybody? So I'm a lender, I'm a dealer, and a fintech innovator. Before the '08 industry crash, we were US Bank's largest leasing dealer, and a majority of that was used car leasing, nationwide. So now, we talk about the second piece of consumer affordability, right? Where everybody's like, oh my gosh, rates are high, all of that. So, and we're going to focus on used car leasing, because when I go to a dealer and, oh, the mask is going to come down on Mike. He's just yawned. I saw it, Mike. The mask is coming down. So When I talk to new car dealers, I say if your lease penetration is not at least 85%, we got a problem. Nobody should be buying. I mean, it's not like the technology is going from cassette player to CD player. We're talking high-tech safety mechanisms and technology and EV batteries and all of that. And I know we talked about the EV thing earlier, but leasing really is the way to go. Now, we talk about used car leasing. When you look at conventional financing, I mean, we could save, you know, and I'm not going to point to this, like $100 to $200 a month, maybe. I mean, there's definitely significant savings there, but you want to know what's really exciting about used car leasing, especially right now. All right, we still have high interest rates, right? Every dealer that's financing a car today, as that rate comes down, guess what happens? Refi. The refi companies they just can hardly wait for the rates to come down because they swoop in. Refi, you get charged back as a dealer. 120 days, 120-day chargeback, and you lose all your back end. So, used car leasing. If we're promoting used car leasing and doing used car leasing correctly, it protects the dealer from refi. Because if I'm in a used car lease and a refi company says, yeah, Terry, I can raise your payment by $100 and extend it for 72 months. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So there's so many advantages to used car leasing. And I could talk about it all day because I'm a lessor, right? So here's the platform. Because everybody I talk to, I talk to Honda, I talk to all the OEMs, I talk to the independents. It's like, no, leasing doesn't work. Used car leasing, it just doesn't work. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, when you go to the dealership, you're not introduced to used car leasing until you're in the F&I box. And in that F&I manager, they are not going to introduce anything that could ruin the deal. It's just, let's go. So what we do is we start at the very top of the funnel for the buying. So we have a dealership, we have a marketplace, and then we have agencies that can all promote used car leasing that then starts with a payment, pre-qualified by phone number. So that payment is going to be a lot lower than a finance payment. We ingest all the inventory, we ingest all the lender data, and then we go through VeriQual Protect, which is one of our companies and our products. We do the identity verification with just the phone number. And then after that, we have the VIN data, which Edie's here. She's got VIN data. I used to does everybody remember First America and the Title Guard insurance? Yeah? Title Guard. As a used car leasing company, I put Title Guard on every single title, even though I did a Carfax. Unfortunately, Carfax does not show you anything unless that vehicle's been titled. So if it hasn't been titled and it's been it's been totaled, you do a Carfax on it, looks great. And real quick example, we had a customer that wanted to lease a used sedan. I mean, we had it inspected, saw the pictures, all looked good. We did a deep dive on the VIN on it, and it showed up on, what's that company that does the totaled vehicles? Copart, I guess, yeah. And it showed up and it was like half a car was gone. Gone. And so VIN data would have picked that up. So I'm not saying replace, I'm saying add. It's not that much to do it. It's better to be safe than sorry, okay? So then once we do the VIN verification, then we do the soft pull credit. 700 Credit's a great partner of ours. We do the soft pull. We then goes into our Trillium credit payment engine so that we can produce the actual payments that customer qualifies for under a pre-qual. Total disclosure, everything. They can change the money down. It's all done on real rates and rules and guidelines. After that, it can go directly into a CRM, but with this program, we can work with Route 1, which then can go to the CRM, but it can also go to a digital retailing solution. So if you look at remember the big after the COVID, digital retailing is like, gotta have it, right? Okay, but where is it? It's not filling the funnel. People are not going and starting with most DR tools that are out there. With this, what we've been able to prove just with the phone number, right? So we're starting with that. We're getting more people in the funnel. We're filling that DR funnel. I'm not replacing DR. Oh, here comes another mask coming down. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we're not replacing DR. I am not here to replace AutoFis. I want to help fill that funnel, right? And make those products better. And we can do that. And then, of course, we can send it to the banks directly through Route 1 and get the decision so that then it can be a real deal. That's it. Any questions?
Harry, quick question. How do you figure in if somebody has a trade and they have negative equity in the trade or something? How would that affect that process?
Yes. So the engine will actually, not to get into a big long thing about that, but our previous product we had, which was a product previous to this with the company that I sold, the trade-in negative equity would all be calculated into the lease, and that will be on this also, so that you can at least see where you are. Okay, it may not work, it may not be fine, right? Because what's great about this tool though is when we pull that credit under the soft pull, we have all the trade lines. So I can ask Bob, which vehicle are you trading in? I'll have approximate payoff, right? I'll have an approximate payoff. They may have paid another payment. It's close enough to get us where we need to be to let them know what the payment is. They may be like, yeah, no, it's no good. Okay.
I want to talk to you about that sometime.
Sure. Yeah. Right. I know you got the trade-in piece. So, and I don't want to duplicate it. I want to work with other companies, right? This product that I showed you is patent pending. It is something that's unique in the marketplace. Nobody's doing this. They're doing components of this. We didn't invent any of these, but we put it all together. And we can qualify somebody in 30 seconds. I mean, it's that fast, and it's that cool, and it works, and it's great. So any other questions? Yes?
Would you partner with a refi company?
So you ready for this? That came up, so I was at Dealer Connect. So Derek has a new event called Dealer Connect. AI like crazy. I mean, AI is like, you're not going to get away from it. You got to stay on top of it. But at Dealer Connect, I woke up at 3 a.m., which I've told Edie, if I wake up at 3 a.m., there's a good chance I don't go back to sleep. Woke up 3 a.m., and I was like, wait a minute, this refi. I can contract with a refi company to offer used car leasing to everybody. Think about that. And we're working with US Bank and Westlake right now for full coverage and full spectrum on the leasing, because you got to have it all, right? You can't be like, oh, okay, well, that can't get that person done. And then we're also working with dealer-controlled leasing, dealer-controlled solutions on the lease here, pay here side. So we will be able to go all the way, start to top to bottom with full spectrum used car leasing, but that is like, I can hardly wait.
Have you done the analysis? I ran this business at Ally, and one of the things we found was because of the captive subvention, we can never get used leasing to be cheaper than used. We usually do it on very few cars, like Land Cruisers and other things like that, that have different depreciation curve and no incentives.
Yeah.
But on the mainframe, on mainstream vehicles, Camrys, you just basically move customers from used to new. We couldn't get dealers to do that.
Right, and that's going to depend on what OEM we're talking about, what captive we're talking about. And the question was, what about the OEMs or the captives? You're looking at a used car lease versus a new car. Switch them to a new car. Okay, that's fine. It works. Matter of fact, with our product, we're able to ingest all the incentives and rebates and all the captive programs, so that if a credit union or an independent lender, we can take the finance or the cash incentive to a competitive finance rate versus a captive 0%. We can do that calculation and figure out whether that makes sense or not for the consumer. Consumers can't do that by themselves. And with this, we're so far up funnel, and it depends on the process that the dealer has in place, the lender has in place, the marketplace has in place, the agency. It depends on how that works, but you're absolutely right. And we were up against that all the time as an independent leasing company. The captives.
We found the dealers were afraid to talk about it because they didn't want to use customers
Yeah, no,
So there's a lot of hesitation.
there is, but with CPOs, that's where I think this will really end up shining. It's gonna, what's that?
100%.
Yeah, CPO is where, you know, I think this will shine. And like the marketplaces, and you've seen some announcements out there where they're adding F&I finance companies to their platforms. This does not compete with your conventional financing. So this complements whatever you're using, and if you're a marketplace, it complements that because it's all about consumer affordability. And if you can help that consumer with a lower payment, it helps the marketplace. And that's all I'm going to say about marketplaces. I can get into more of that, but I'm not going to right now. Yeah, great deal, but yeah. Anybody else got thoughts, comments, questions, snide remarks? Jim's got a snide remark, I'm sure.
Terry didn't give me the note cards.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of our presentation. But I get a card. I'd be happy to talk to everybody. I could talk about this all day long for hours. I love talking shop, even if we don't do business. I don't care. I'm all about helping the industry in general to help create a great experience, not just for the consumer, but for the dealer, lender. Everybody's got to win. It's got to be a triple win for everybody. And if it is, then it's a good thing. Lou, nothing to comment on? He's a expert.
I like the idea of working with partners versus trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's it, right? I mean, this industry is all about, I can do everything. I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, well, maybe, but how long and how well, right? So collaboration, especially on the fraud stack, is really, really important, right?
I got a question for the
Rudy?
group. Just I'll offer up a question. I'll ask y'all. So, from the fraud stack approach, from the pre-qual all the way through to the consumer being off-site, where are we missing? Anything that y'all see that you're experiencing pain on that's not being addressed and not being covered?
On the fraud side, yeah. I'll go back to that.
Just curious.
I'm gonna throw one out to you, but I don't know if there's an answer, but it was thrown out to us. First party fraud.
Well, in income and employment too, I think
Meaning the dealers in on it, or?
No, meaning the consumer who says, no, I don't really care about my credit anymore. And then goes back and just says, screw it, I disappear, and or, calls a credit card company, whatever. We had a couple of lenders pose that to us, so.
Yeah, and Jim, let me, in case Jim didn't, and anybody heard that, it's the consumer with great credit going out and being coaxed into committing these multiple finance bust outs and yeah.
I mean, they're calling it first party
Right.
fraud because the reality is.
No, they're real people and
They realize they're gonna have an adverse action to their adverse impact to their credit score. To be honest, I tell my friends this all the time. You go bankrupt today, and I promise you can get a loan tomorrow for a car, right? So there are people at this point that, I don't know the solution for it, but I just threw it out because you asked, because I think that's becoming, I've had literally 6 banks say that to me, asking us. I'm like, I don't know, how do you deal with somebody who just decides they want to be bad?
yeah. So what is the solution? Is anybody? Lou, you got no? Yeah, I mean that's valid. And what is the solution? We are coming up with the fraud's being invented as we go, right? It's not like it's over. It's not like we won or we fixed it or we did. It's continuous, right?
So there are indicators, there are fraud scores to help address that exact thing. And lenders have been taking advantage of them. It's getting to the point now that dealers need to start learning more about it.
Yeah, and Jim with Experian has a lot of information on that.
Somebody mentioned over here about income verification.
Well, that's Lou.
Yeah, so what I was gonna make is, fraud scores from bureaus are good, or modeled income from bureaus are good. but
Right.
We would more strongly recommend actual real-time income on customers.
So the reason we use modeling first, because the volume of leads on the pre-qual is hundreds of thousands, right? So I can't, to get real income, that's more expensive. And we don't do that until the customer says on that payment, yep, that's the one I want, I'm ready to go. Now we can start, I don't do that part now because that's part of the process that the dealer probably needs to be doing, right? I don't need to do it all. I need to be the best at what I do.
It's actually something that we looked at in settlement of credit where upfront, we're doing what Terry does, we're doing the initial pre-qual and ID verification to the process. As the customer starts to go deeper into the process, then we can inject in insurance verification, income verification, employment verification, as the consumer decides to go deeper through the process.
As long as it's not OCR, as long as it's not taking paper
Yeah.
and then just OCR, as long as it's real time.
No,
action.
real time, where we would actually build in tabs as the consumer's going online, and then they just click in, which will now take them to an income verification site, where in seconds, they'll be able to do it, or an employment verification site. But we gotta leave it up to the consumer, so that they continue to stay, through the process. And that's gonna help the dealer, which will help the consumer up front to get as much of the fraud and pre-qualification done up front, so we can quickly now get to the fun part.
Yeah, settlement of credit does a good job with that, informative does a good job with that.
Yeah, there's a few different companies that do that. Informative is one, yeah.
And I think that's the key thing what Terry's saying is one company can't do it all. It's gotta, as a dealer, you've gotta have multiple areas that you're looking for the protection as you're going through the process.
And I would just offer, I don't think a lot of dealers that at least I know have, you could go ask one person in the dealership how it's orchestrated. It's usually like, that's probably like 5 people at the dealership. 5 different people you gotta go talk to, how does that work?
Yeah.
So imagine how that conversation goes if you're a lender saying, hey, these people didn't make their first payment, what the hell? And, you're trying to figure it out. It's a bit of a quagmire. And so, like I said, I think we've got to get dealers more in that thought process of like, hey, you got to do all these things working together.
Yeah.
Now you have a fraud manager instead of an internet manager.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, fraud manager.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
gonna go
fraud.
through all these things.
Yeah, no, Jim, I think you're absolutely right. There's a new job for somebody, fraud manager,
Oh,
because
see you guys.
I think that's what the bureaus will be telling the dealers they should have.
well, the lenders. So if which I am, I'm a lender. I got to make sure the dealer is doing what they need to be doing, right? I mean, the lenders have to help get that done because it's not happening. But think about this, and remember, I think I mentioned earlier, 30% of traffic could be bought or fraudulent on a dealer website. Think of how many. Look at your finance portfolio. What percentage? And this came up, I think at Experian maybe it was, that out of my portfolio as a lender, all the charge-offs, okay, bad credit, whatever, well, is it or was it fraud? And lenders are afraid to say what percentage is what, right? They know, well, I think they do know. They can figure it out at some point with forensics and stuff, what was fraud and what was not fraud. But there is I bet, a good percentage of that portfolio, and you don't even know about it yet, right? The bust outs and all, I mean, you don't even know what it is. Matter of fact, it might be interesting to go through your whole portfolio and do some of those verifications. Jim, do you guys do that at Experian, offer something where you can? Portfolio review?
Look at fraud scores sort of in arrears.
Okay.
Is this at risk
Uh-huh.
or not? Because those people who, there are people who are making their payments for months and months before they bust out.
Right, yeah.
They have a plan.
Yeah.
They have a plan.
And I think generally lenders don't do a very good job pushing the deal back to the dealer, so they're therefore not creating accountability. So the dealer's like, I made money, okay, so I'm not going to worry. So I think there's, it's a circle.
It's a circle of everybody's gotta,
The lenders push back. And
Yeah.
when they do identify fraud, they actually go back and pursue the dealers. So I think we'll continue to see lack of interest in this space. This is not good for business for them, for the dealers.
yeah, there was another dealer at AFS, I think it was, where he's like, yeah, we check off all the boxes that the lender says we gotta do, so if there's a fraud, they can't come back at me. I go to the lender and say, you gotta update your boxes. Right? Well, oh, gosh.
That's the next step is for lenders to push back.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
incentivize.
Incentivize, yeah.
Lenders that'll take $350 off the bank fee if they use a turbo contract.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, great.
That's a proactive approach to changing behavior.
Yeah,
I didn't want to brag, but you still do. So we actually have some lenders we talk to. We're doing the same thing for QuickScan, and I even posts up on there or offer dealers incentives as well. If they used our scan platform to verify, gives them incentive, it protects them, so everybody wins, right?
Mike?
This is a process that you can provide to a lending institution. Is there also a step where you can provide some level of defense for power booking, for fraud that comes from the dealers?
Yeah, so now you have dealer fraud. That's a whole other thing, and power booking. So we need somebody can help me add that to the fraud stack. That would be great. Years ago, I had a dealer that defrauded us as a leasing company and like 3 other banks out of Chicago. We worked with the FBI for months. I had to go to Chicago. I was on the witness stand for 4 hours straight, and we got a conviction. So to this day, I get a check every month for like $67 restitution.
But how did Bob get out?
Yeah. 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 So I'm like dealer, lender, consumer. It's out there, and we've got to stay vigilant because with AI, it's just woo. Yeah.
But isn't it true that nobody in any industry, I mean, compliance and fraud is so boring, and you don't really, I don't need it until you need it, right?
Right. Another thing we talked.
You're scared of it, and you don't want to put your name on it. Like, you don't want to go play with it.
That's right.
Well, in Jim's session, we were also talking, experience session, we were talking about independent dealers where they have, some states require it, some states don't, so they won't have it. So they basically, they just take the loss, right? Because they don't want to, even if they have insurance, the more you claim, the higher your rates go up. So it's like,
I'm going to make an obvious statement too, though, Terry. You said it earlier about check the box, and so Jim spoke about fraud, I spoke about fraud, you're talking about fraud, and interesting, when I was talking about my fraud one, I won't call the dealership out, was a large dealer group who said, oh yeah, we're all set with fraud, they do it, they're out when they do the check. It's check the box, right?
Check the
Oh,
box.
yeah, we're fine.
Check-
So I think part of it is, and I applaud you, Terry, we talked about this, you know, for the dealers who are in the room, you know, is to help understand, the way I say it, there's a lot more boxes you need to be checking now. I mean, we trained them in the industry over the years to say, okay, all you gotta do is check this one, you're all set. Well, now there's 12 other boxes you all need to be checking, and you don't know what those boxes are, but that's our job to teach them, right?
right,
Well,
yep.
I would also say, what's interesting as I've gotten to know more folks involved in fraud and in compliance is, you can do something to prevent fraud that exposes you with the FTC or might expose you with the CFPB. So there's a lot of things
Yeah,
there
compliance.
that is a separate angle. And again, when dealers don't have it all together, they don't figure out the 1 + 1 = 3. So that's
Boy, we're
also-
fraud geeks.
I would share just a fun stat off the cuff. It's semi-proprietary to us, but you know, we kind of are the only folks who focus on kind of this in-person, final, last mile, belly to belly. AI is not going to get past it. You know, we can smell your breath kind of thing. But even there, once they figure out we have a signing agent coming in person, our abandon rate is about 5%. Meaning,
It got through.
those deals got through.
It got through.
All of this other stuff. And
It
then
got
we're
through.
like, oh wait, you're coming to my house. You know?
Yeah. And it's not just meeting you in the driveway. You're going further than that.
Yeah, no, we make sure that they didn't just get out of a lift and ask to sign on the hood of the car, and we make sure that, you know, we do a lot to verify that, and we have a network that's kind of trained on it, so we've got a lot of just experience with that specifically, but I think it's fascinating that the drop rate is even that high, because that just means 5% of the deals that we saw that already had a lot of these other things done still had an issue. You know, and it may not all be straight up fraud. There's elder abuse. We're not talking about some of the other fringe cases. There's elder abuse. There's military abuse, right? There's people ripping their siblings off. You know, there's lots of different things. So it's kind of fascinating what we catch. Kind of like saltwater fishing a little bit.
It's like what?
It's like saltwater fishing.
Saltwater fishing.
Kind of fascinating, right? Well, maybe because I'm not a good fisherman, I bring on all kinds of stuff. But you get lots of different stories.
Well, a quick comment on that. So I mentioned FBI Citizens Academy. We went to We went to Redstone down in Alabama, and we got to blow up a bunch of stuff and do all kinds of stuff. But one of the things they had was they took us and showed us all the new airport security stuff that's coming down the pike. Like, you know how you have to do this and all that kind of stuff. Now you're just going to walk, and there's going to be these two sides, and you're just going to stand there, and it's going to do everything, and you just walk out. But that's one side of this building in this one big, huge room, all the different pieces they're testing. Well, then they took us next door, and these guys come out, and they're wearing, you know, Van Halen T-shirts, and they're like, they're like, we're the ones that you want to make sure we're on your side. All they do is spend their time figuring out how to beat the stuff in the next room. That's all they do all day long. And it was just amazing. It's nonstop. Or if they do intercept something that they find, then it goes to these guys. They deconstruct it and figure out how to then tell these guys how to fix it, how to detect it, how to detect it. It was, wow, it's amazing what's coming. It's crazy, but exciting. So, anything else? Guys want to talk about anything at all? Sports, the weather. I feel like I'm back in the Midwest. It's raining and cold. What? All right, great. Thank you, guys. I do have cards up here if anybody wants some. That PSA I did.
Great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Did you guys consider, so I work for a group, I'm with AMA, and it's a real small print. We offer a solution where as part of the identity verification, you can verify a driver's license against the DMV data, another check, a source data against the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to learn all about that.
Okay.
There is nothing I don't want to not learn. That's a double negative, I know.
Let me grab a card. And
Yeah, just for sure.
Remember that name.
Yeah, just
I'll refresh you.
and do it on LinkedIn too, because you're on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
So I live on there, so that way, just say, hey, we met. Yeah, I was in your session. So say that yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that. And again, we're all about bringing others in. It's a consortium.
Credit has access to it. They use it in part of their solution.
Okay.
So I don't know if that, but I noticed in your presentation, 700 credit was more the soft pull later on. It's part of the identity verification.
There's multiple people that do that. Some of those things. MapSign is a good partner, but like the credit bureaus, I have two things with credit bureaus, and you know, Jim was with Experian, but in the credit bureaus, and there's more. I mean, there's more than this.
I've got a couple for you.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I want to definitely hear about it because yeah, definitely. Great. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I didn't hear about the Cloudflare thing today. I wasn't paying attention to it.
I saw that this morning. Cloudflare. I was like, oh my gosh. So they do the IP verification piece,
Right.
And that's at the very top. I mean, I don't want to see anything that's not IP verified,
Makes sense.
right?
All right. So there's a layer that we have that actually you should be interested in. It's behavioral analytics. So the idea of when a normal human fills out a form, you type in your name, you type in your address. A not normal circumstance is someone or something that is copying and pasting.
Zip.
Yeah.
Yes,
First
and
name.
Experian Vision. You guys talked about that.
There we go. So,
yeah.
so
I remember.
The company we bought is NeuroID.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
It is very
Wow.
cost effective.
Okay.
At scale and what you're talking
Which,
about.
yeah, this is
So
higher
it
up.
would
Yep.
be a good, like right up towards the top. Whether I think it's after the traffic IQ one.
Okay.
Would make sense. And then this
Yes, it would, because even though we're just using a phone number, there's still probably something there, right?
sure, the way the data is being.
I'll turn it down. I'll turn it all off.
How long is a person or a bot on a particular page.
Oh,
Where
okay.
the cursor is on the page.
Oh, even after the phone number, that could be put in there.
when
Okay.
yeah. So I get your point though, because you're pre-filling the form with the phone number information, but they must be making choices still. Right?
After the phone number.
After the phone
So it's the OTP.
Yep.
How are they doing that? The OTP comes in. Are they
So-
copying it? Or are they typing it? Are they?
Well, no, because I would copy it, right? Because my phone, how
I'm
Apple
starting to
Pay
learn that.
populates.
Right now, I'm like, oh, I got to remember those 6 numbers,
Right.
put them in. Because I'm starting to learn the copy thing.
But then there's still choices to be made after that, right? Where-
Yes. So what happens after that is we do the ID verification. Comes back and says, "Is this Jim McGuire?" And you're like, "Oh, name, address. Does that match?"
Right.
Yes or no. If it's a no, if you say yes and it's not really matching, then I can't pull credit. So that'll stop that. So the data's got to be accurate for me to pull credit, and we are using Experian's.
Right, sorry, we'll go up there on the,
Yeah.
on the UI. So maybe it's a fit, maybe it's not. We'd have to literally go through your workflow to see if that's a good fit, because you are pre-populating, which is where a lot of that's caught.
Right.
But in general, for pre-qual forms online, it's a good fit for anyone doing them in bulk.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, basically they were asking about different types of fraud. Yes, there are fraud scores that can be used, and because you have a more comprehensive view of this than the average dealer who's got a
Right.
form out there.
Yeah.
You might figure out ways to take advantage of our precise ID fraud scoring in ways that a dealer wouldn't. We have our fraud solution out in hundreds and hundreds of dealers, not thousands, hundreds.
Yeah.
They tend to be the bigger ones.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not interested in the details of this score versus that score. They want thumbs up. They want thumbs
Right,
down.
real simple, right,
So they
yeah.
need someone that can take the complexity of the data and make it simple for them.
Yeah.
So there's a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
This is really good though. That's a great way of sort of telling the story.
Yeah. No, it's we're not trying to. Obviously we do that part, and we've put a patent pending on it, but it still doesn't mean any that we're whatever. It's all about the how we're doing it, the platform, and all that, and bringing people together and all that. So,
Right.
not
Well,
okay.
engaged crowd.
Yeah, no, it was great. I was pretty happy, and I love it. Yeah, I love the back and forth and just figuring stuff out, and and Experian Vision next. Can't wait. Sol Rashidi, she was just incredible AI.
So you said you're following her. I'm following her.
Yeah.
I'm seeing things
Yeah.
she's putting out. Yeah, just
She is
right on
just
top of
something I love. Yeah. All right. Well, what time is it? It's almost 5. It's almost cocktail hour. So.
I think I'm gonna go lay low until our dinner.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's right. We got that tonight. Yep. Yes.
You know why I asked that question? It's actually 2 reasons.
Yeah. Tell me.
The fun reason is because I wanted to earn my cigar.
Thank you.
Did I earn it?
Yes. You definitely are going to get a Cuban cigar.
The second thing I was saying, I was just talking about, we have a couple of prospective customers for a tool that does, I think I talked to you about yesterday, we'll go through it again, that absolutely validates the data between synthetic ID and document forensics, that absolutely says 6% fraud documents. So we're looking at using that at least as a beta for a couple of refi companies in Colorado where I am. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Why shouldn't these refi guys be doing, can we just call it release or whatever?
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Well, we call it. Why
wouldn't we just add
Refi
that product?
DXP is what I labeled it, and I went ahead and secured that name because digital experience platform, everything is a DXP for us.
Right.
But Refi
Why wouldn't they
DXP.
just add that tool just like they would add somewhere in the funnel